Hello and welcome back to another episode of You Want to Do What with Dan and Julie. Today we've got Johanna on, who is an actress and content creator. Hi, Johanna.
Hello.
How are we?
I'm all right. I don't know why I sounded so formal there. I was like on the news. Hello. Hi there.
Yeah, it's always the intro always goes really formal, and I don't know why. We need to relax that, Jules, somehow.
I know. Just chill. Just have a chat. This is great.
Exactly. So do you want to tell everyone a little bit about what you actually get up to?
Right, yes. So it's really hard when I explain my job, when people are like, so what do you do at like a party? I go, well, I make videos, I make comedy videos online. It's kind of like a YouTuber, but I'm not a YouTuber. And basically I just go, I'm a YouTuber, to kind of explain it to the majority of people. But so I was an actress. I am an actress. And then I started making sketches online about, 5 years ago. I realized a couple of days ago. I was like, we're in 2021 now. I started in 2016. Like,
you know what? It's scary, isn't it? How are we in 2021? It's terrifying.
I mean, yeah, because I originally thought, I'll be silly on the internet for a while, not long, couple of years, and then I'm like, wow, I've been doing this as a day job for 5 years. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So I make funny videos, not always on my own. Well, now they're always on my own because of the pandemic.
Yes.
But before, I got to collaborate with other kind of comedians and content creators, and that's the really fun bit.
Because you work a lot with Sophie, who we had on the podcast, and it's sort of similar job, I guess you could call it, that you both do now.
Yeah, so I met Sophie Craig about 3 years ago now, even more than that. And we were both working on a job for Unilad. And I just got to know her on set, and I was like, oh my God, you're hilarious. Have you ever thought about doing like online comedy? Because that's what I do. I think you'd be brilliant. And she was like, oh, I've thought about it, but I've never really like started a page. I was like, girl, we're starting you a page right now. And we started a page and we filmed a sketch, like a quick little sketch together about girls that sweat in the summer and like just how we can't stand the heat and stuff. And we didn't think it was like that amazing of a sketch, but we're like, you know what, it's the first one. And it kind of exploded on the internet like a bit of a meme, and it got like 6 million views overnight. And we were like, oh, okay, I think we've tapped into something here that we're quite like, let's team up. Should we team up? And so then we made James and Craig, like a kind of comedy duo. So we do stuff online on our own, but also together.
And so before that, how did you even start? Did you just wake up one day and go, you know what, I'm just going to make random videos on the internet and make a living out of it?
Absolutely not. I spent about a year like genuinely trying to be like a YouTube beauty guru, and it's so embarrassing. I've still got most of my videos up there. I've left them up just for posterity. But I was trying to be a beauty guru, but I didn't really know one end of a camera from another. And I was still a little bit shy and insecure of not being on camera, because I'm very confident on camera, but I guess just in myself, just having the guts to say I'm an influencer or something like it. I still felt like, oh no. So I gave up on the YouTube, which was ridiculous, because looking back, I was actually getting really good for the time. I was getting really good views, but I kind of packed up that project. And then I was like, no, I'm going to be an actor. I went to drama school and I got a bunch of confidence, like training at drama school. I was like, no, I'm going to be a performer. I'm going to be an actor. I'm going to be in Downton Abbey, mum. And then I left drama school and realized it's really, really hard. Like, the industry is so tough, and you're thrown in there with hundreds of other actor graduates, and everyone's desperate to try and get an agent. It gets really quite cutthroaty and it's quite a cattle market out there. And I tried with some success to do acting for about 4 years, and then I did every other job under the sun. I was a waitress, I was a nanny, I was a cleaner, I was a carer. Like, I was just sort of juggling all of them. And then I got really fed up with that, and then I had an idea. I thought, oh, why don't I make a kind of CV of my comedy characters, and what I'll do is I'll upload them onto the internet, and then I can send them to casting directors and be like, yo, this is what I can do. And so I came up with a couple ideas, and I filmed them like so bad, like they're really technically really bad. And I filmed it with my friend, I think my dad helped me film the first sketch. and we put them up on. We put it on YouTube, nothing happened, like 2 views. And it was like, And then I thought, oh, if my laptop dies, because I know it probably will, I'll put it on Facebook, because Facebook, just nothing ever gets deleted off Facebook. Even if you try and delete stuff off Facebook, it just doesn't delete. So I thought it'll be safe there up in the cloud of the book of Face. And so I put the sketch up on my Facebook. And then about 2 weeks later, my friend who was in the sketch, he called me and was like, yo, have you seen, we've got like 1,000 views on that video. I was like, you're joking. And I looked and it was like 2,000 views. And then as we were refreshing, it was like a proper viral moment. And I think it went up to like 250,000 views on this sketch. And the sketch was, so when people were like, what's your first sketch that you made? I'm like, well, it was actually a sketch called Bringing Your Black Boyfriend Home. And it was based on my middle-class mother, who would be absolutely delighted for me to be in an interracial relationship. And she mentioned it many times. And I was like, Mother, you cannot just, it's not like a shopping channel that I can just go and get a boyfriend from. You fall in love with who you fall in love with. Like, let's not push this. But when I told my friend that my mom was like quite desperate for me to date a black man, he found that hilarious because he was black himself. We were like, we have to just put this into a sketch. And we kind of flipped. There's an old Sidney Poitier movie called Guess Who's Coming to Dinner about a lady who brings a black doctor home, and because it's the 60s, everyone was horrified, so we flipped it on its head and we did this sketch about the parents being so excited that they were in turn like inadvertently racist by trying to be so forward thinking, and it struck a chord with so many people, and we had all the comments were just flooded with people going, oh my gosh, this was me, this was when I met my mum-in-law, this was when I met my father-in-law, this was me at the family barbecue. And people just were like, well, when's the next one? So I was like, oh, all right, I'll make another.
That's so true. It's quite funny because a lot of comedians always say comedy is very much sort of on a line, isn't it, of what people might say, oh yeah, that was good, or that was too far. Like, do you find that when you're making comedy now, especially nowadays, because there is a lot of, oh, you can't say that, you should say that, do you have to tread that line as comedy?
Oh yeah, like, so even now, that was 5 years ago. Now I would have reservations about making that sketch, just because the whole climate of kind of race relations, it's become a lot more of a sensitive subject, and almost everything has, to be honest. Like, you could joke about so much 5 years ago that in such a short space of time, now it's not appropriate to sometimes explore that. You've got to explore it carefully, because it's really hard. A lot of us are really feeling it when we're trying to make sort of things funny, relatable, funny things, because you have to take the piss out of these subjects in order to, that's the whole point of what a joke is. It's taking something relatable and finding where that boundary is. And a lot of comedians, they find the boundary and then they overstep it, and that's what makes the joke. So yes, we can, I'm talking like all the comedians. I can get a bit of stick for where I go, but because I now do it as a job and I work quite closely with a lot of brands, I have to be really mindful about what I say and do and joke about.
Cool. But it's all about context, isn't it, really? That's what comedy is. It's in the context of, there's no aggression in it. It's comedy. You're trying to make people laugh and be relatable and relax.
Yeah, I think when it comes from truth, and I find comedy from like observing things and just experiencing stuff, and then I think that you can you have a bit of a permission to talk about it or make a joke about it if it's something you've experienced or you've noticed. And I mean, everything's subjective, isn't it? What will make one person laugh hysterically? I get so many comments being like, you're not funny, oh my god, like, you're so unfunny, you're a women aren't funny,
oh god.
And then I have other people being like, oh, I was having such a crap day today, and like, this really made me laugh, thanks. So it's all subjective. I'm like, whatever.
Of course it is.
And with the internet now, I suppose, and you doing your own content, you can just throw as much stuff out there as possible. But what sort of like line do you tread there? Do you just think, you know what, if I come up with something, I'll throw it up there, whether it's hit or miss, or do you try and really think about what you're putting up and make sure everything is a hit?
Oh, well, I mean, at the beginning, it was such a weird journey because at the beginning I wasn't sure what my kind of style of comedy was. At first, I was stepping into an arena. So this was, back in 2016. There was literally no girls making comedy in the UK. There were some big American female like Viners, but
yes, Vine,
Vine, you remember Vine?
Yeah,
and
I remember Vine.
And I joined just at the time that Vine was dying. So I actually wasn't a Viner, but all of the Viners were jumping ship onto Facebook because it was the place where people could make like Vine compilation videos and make Facebook pages and get followings, and it was a place to kind of replace Vine. So I made a Facebook page at the time when all the Viners were, but it was all men. And so I was a little bit like, why is that? And well, let me have a crack at it then, come on. Yeah. And I happened to have met one of the famous Viners who was called Dapper Laughs.
Yes.
Yeah. And through my acting, I was acting with him about 6 months before. I was acting in his DVD. He did like a sketch DVD, comedy sketch DVD show thing. And I was just in there. We were doing a kind of parody 50 Shades interview type thing, but we spun it on its head to make it like feminist. And he was really lovely, and Dapper Laughs is a complete and utter character. Dan O'Reilly is just lovely, and he said to me, "Hey, you've got funny bones. You should do this online?" And at the time I was like, "No, Dan, no. I'm actually going to be on Downton Abbey. You don't understand. Like, I'm a real professional actress. I don't want to be an internet person." And then 6 months later, I actually got back in touch with him and was like, "So could you actually show me how to use Snapchat? Because I kind of want to have a crack at it." And he did. He said, "Yeah, absolutely. Like, let's do some sketches. Let's collaborate." So my first kind of collaboration was with Dan. And then once Dan kind of opened the door to me making sketches, loads of the other guys, Aaron Kraskell, Stuggy, Hugh Samuels, all these guys who were big Viners, they were like open for me making content with them as well, and just sort of gradually we could all collaborate and make lots of stuff. I feel like I've chatted in a big circle and I can't remember the question.
No, the content you put up now, do you is it just you just throw everything that comes to your mind up there? You know, you're walking down the street, have an idea? Or
yes, no, yeah. So I talk about my style. Yeah. So initially it was a lot more on the nose. I was competing with boys. There we are. That's where I was going with that. So I was making a lot more on the money kind of jokes, slightly ruder jokes, to kind of get people's attention. And then I realized that my comedy was way more Mr. Bean style, physical comedy, lots of falling over, lots of funny faces. And I ended up going out with another comedy sketch maker called Tube, and he was just starting out and I was just starting out, and we made a bit of a good team and we were making sketches together. And I had an idea. I was like, "Guys, can I actually like direct a sketch for once? Would that be cool? Like, I've got an idea in mind. I want to execute it." And his camera team and him, they were like, "Yeah, sure. Just like direct us, let us know." Not gonna lie, they were slightly, what's the word when you patronizing? There we are. They were like, "Yeah, go on, babe. You make a sketch this time. Go on, babe." And I said, "Okay, I've got this idea about, when you sleep next to your girlfriend and it's just so annoying because she steals the duvet and you just don't get any sleep." And they were like, "Yeah, all right. Sounds kind of cool." And we did it, and I edited it and I put it out, and that was like one of my biggest crazy, like that's really when stuff hit off. I think it got 350 million views on Facebook.
Oh my word.
Which I didn't even know that was the number of people like in the world with eyes. It was crazy.
Wow.
But that kind of cemented my style, and I was like, right, I know what I do now. I do lots of physical comedy to music, make it like Mr. Bean. You can watch it in so many countries. Spanish kids, French kids grew up with Mr. Bean because it was kind of universally funny. So I took that, a little leaf out of that. Rowan Atkinson is the king. And do you hear Mr. Bean might be coming back? Side note.
Oh, really?
Can't believe. I saw an article about they're thinking of rebooting it as him as an old man. Would love that.
That would be good.
But yeah, so I found my style, and so now I tend to do that. But then also I've experimented doing lots of different things, and there is a formula to a viral video. When people go like, how do you make viral videos? I'm like,
Yeah.
there actually is, or there was back at the time when things were incredibly viral. There was a formula that you kind of stuck to, but then sometimes you just can't tell.
Is it harder to make stuff go viral now?
Yes, so
Right.
much harder. It's
Okay.
so much harder. All the algorithms on the social media platforms have completely changed.
Yeah, I find with our Instagram that we set up, we're like slowly building traction, but sometimes our posts can get like, quite decent interaction, and then other days, like today, I posted something and literally nothing happened.
Totally dead. Yeah,
It's so weird.
the algorithms are constantly changing, and they are constantly changing, not in favor of video creators. The only exception to that was most recently TikTok, which they created an algorithm that was specifically shoved people with followers. So it was incredibly easy to go viral on TikTok for a
Right.
purpose, because they wanted to get people on the app. And then now that loads of people are on the app, it's like 10 times harder to go viral now. They're making it more normal. Loads of people are getting really gassed, like, I'm so famous and funny. Like, no, it's the algorithm really helping you there. And yeah, it's kind of technical, so it's really hard, because sometimes I would spend hours on an idea, and I'd script something, I'd do a character, I'd make a costume, and do this whole like big thing, and it really wouldn't like go very well, and I'd be a bit like, oh, that's a shame, I really found that funny in myself. And then I'd make something which I'm like, this is rubbish, like how rubbish is this? It's just me falling in a bin, and then it's like 80 million views, and you're like, oh, I don't understand the internet, there's no art here. Yeah, it's kind of hit and miss, but I've kind of disconnected myself to the performance of it now. So at first it was when you're getting loads and loads of views, it can be a little bit addictive, because you're always in competition with yourself, so you feel like you have to beat your last, you're only as good as your last video kind of thing, and that is a very destructive way of being creative. So now it's kind of, you make it because you found it funny, and if it flops, it flops, and if it hits, and it doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Do you find the way the internet and these sort of videos go up and the platforms change sort of like every 2 years, does that affect you much?
Yes. Oh my goodness, yes. So just to be real, so I didn't, when I was starting out, it took me about 9 months before I could actually make money off doing this. And then by the second year that I was doing it, I was making a lot of money. It was, as for someone who was just doing waitressing jobs for 10 years and not earning enough to even make tax for like literally 10 years, suddenly I was doing a job that like paid really well. And then all of that disappeared when the algorithms change and the views get taken away. Because the one good thing about getting a lot of views is that you can transfer that into money, either by monetization or most of the time by brand deals. But if you lose your views, if you lose your engagement and your audience like retention, you also lose your sponsors, so you therefore lose your rent. So
is there a way of sort of, I guess you've got to create your own personal brand, that it doesn't matter what platform comes out next, people will search for you? Is that how you kind of fix that?
You've got to try. It's like playing this horrible game of like guessing which ship is going to sink next, and you've got to try and spread yourself across all the platforms, because Snapchat was one of my strongest ones initially. I had hundreds of thousands of people following me on that, and then Snapchat overnight changed their entire like internal system, and I just lost so all my followers. Like I don't really know what happened there, and I'm not even on Snapchat anymore. I know some people are, but it's not something that I really focus. But then it's really hard, because if you're trying to, like, YouTubers are amazing at being YouTubers because they really solely focus on YouTube, and they can put all their time and energy on making amazing content on that one platform, and it's fine. I unfortunately was focused on Facebook rather than YouTube, so when then Facebook died and Snapchat died, yeah, it's quite scary.
Have you thought about having like a a main, so doing a YouTube maybe, or even doing like something like a podcast, because this really doesn't matter, whatever platform breaks, we just kind of advertise it on the biggest platform at the time, but there's always, you've got an RSS feed, so there's always people coming to that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we have, so me and Sophie have a podcast. It's called Dear Mr. Nicothief, and it's like a comedy sort of / mental health podcast, because we realised quite early on that comedy and mental health are seriously linked, and a lot of people use comedy as a way to help their mental health, and a lot of comedians also come from places where they've maybe struggled with mental health, because I think it's one of the things that makes people funny, is having to struggle through something and finding like the humor in that. And I found that actually my funniest stuff was often made at times when I was my lowest, which is really weird.
Wow.
But that's just, look at Robin Williams and people like that, people who are incredibly funny and talented, but also have this, there's a link with mental health somewhere. So we thought, let's make a podcast, because we get so many people chatting to us in our inboxes, me and Sophie, about mental health, and about people saying, oh, how do you stay positive all the time? You're so positive and bubbly and funny. And we're like, oh, no, Susan, Susan, no, like, we're entertaining you. But it's because we have camera personalities. But and then we realized, okay, we actually have an obligation to be real as well. So we made like a massive effort to be as real as possible on social media and as honest as possible. I make sure that what I personally don't use any like Photoshop or Facetune on anything of my videos or my photos. Sorry, my dog is chewing something. I got a puppy. I've got an 8-month-old puppy.
Oh, sweet.
Oh,
what is it?
In the room. He is half a Jack Russell, half a Pomeranian. He's called Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Wow.
Oh, brilliant name.
He's being really good, but
there.
he's chewing a slipper.
Oh, bless him.
And I was just keeping an eye on him. Right, he threw me off. Where
So
we are.
I'm
Yes.
I'm struggling to actually word this question without being a bit mean. Actually, there's obviously two ways of making money through this. You obviously said that you just having flat amount of views can draw in money, but the other is brands sponsoring you or brand deals. How do you sort of do that while staying true to yourself? And I don't want to use the word sell out, but you've got to stay true to yourself whilst also appeasing them.
Yes. So that was really weird, because when I first started doing brand deals, a lot of people went, you're selling out, you're selling things. And I was kind of like, well, how else do you expect me to make content at this rate and feed myself and pay rent like I'm a normal person? And when it becomes a job. And so at first it felt really horrible. And then I realized that I wasn't being a sellout. It's part of the job. And if people have an issue with you selling something, it's probably 9 times out of 10 because there might be sort of jealousy involved or something, or they would want to be an influencer themselves. I don't know. I hate the word influencer, by the way. Absolutely. What a vile word. Definitely a content creator, entertainer, comedian. And we, both Sophie and myself, we try so hard that when we do branded product placement or sort of adverts in our sketches, we make them as authentically as possible. So the rule is, would it work without the product placement? Yes. And it has to work without it, like as a sort of sketch or a joke or as a comedy. And that kind of passes the feel good meter, I think.
I think people can tell, like you're saying, when it's genuine. Like, there are influencers, which I think these influencers are going to die out soon, because people just look at them and they're like, what are you doing? When it's just ad, and they're just posing with the product in front of them.
Yeah, no. The rules are, I've got to genuinely like the product. Like, I've turned down a lot of stuff because I was like, that doesn't fit the image of what I want to do or what I want to be. I made a choice quite early on. At the very beginning, I had a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I had some people kind of saying, oh, you would make an absolute killing if you dressed a little sexier, or if you did some more funny jokes, or if you did pranks in your underwear, like you'd get like 5 million followers. And I was like, but that's really not me. I'm much more like the goofy best friend type. Yeah. So I
think
made
that's a massively good point though, because that is like the easiest way to do it, isn't it? Because
oh, so
it does
easy.
work. Like you can make a massive following, and if you do those kinds of things. But I always think, where is the longevity in that?
Well, exactly. And I'm so glad that I didn't like kind of take the easier path and kind of do that, because later when I came to work with brands, a lot of brands told me that one of the reasons why they did choose me or were able to choose me was because I passed sort of all of the brand that they have like a checklist of what they go through. So that's when you're not allowed to use your boobs or your body to sell, or sort of crude jokes. So you have to make stuff that's funny without being crude, and you have to get a lot of people's attention and retain that without being naked. And so it's kind of a challenge, and it's like, yeah, I'll take that, absolutely. And yeah, I'm very proud that I made those decisions early on, because I also knew that there was like a lot of young girls watching, and I didn't want all of them, because YouTuber or like internet personality is like the number one thing kids want to be now.
Well,
Yes,
I saw a meme a while ago, and it was like, a YouTuber is now, I'm in a band. No, it's not much different, is it?
Used to be, I want to be a footballer and stuff like that. I want to be an astronaut, and like now it's like, I want to be a YouTuber or a gamer. And so yeah, there's I've got a question again, so sorry.
I want to jump back a little bit and say, you said that you were working as a waitress and things like that, whilst trying to make your acting career work, and then sort of like slid over to this over a period of time. Is that common for people going into acting to have secondary jobs? And then for things like this, is it generally just like people fall into it? Do you know?
It's fall into doing online content.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely fell into it. Like, I didn't go out with any kind of intention to go on the internet. I was only putting stuff on the internet to send to casting directors. And yeah, I just kind of, and then everything organically happened. So when I started to get followers, I started to work as a presenter as well on an online platform. So as I was growing my followers, I became a presenter, which then turned into a radio presenting opportunity, and I had a radio show for 2 years. And so it kind of, and then acting stuff kind of came back round again. Once you get all these followers now, it's kind of a prerequisite sometimes, especially in America, for to be a model or an actor, you have to have all these numbers. So I feel like a lot of actors are now trying to get follower accounts and get an internet presence to help them acting. I think they're trying now rather than back falling into it.
There was a content creator I watched fairly regularly, and he said a while ago, it must have been a couple of years, I heard him say this, that anyone wanting to go into sort of the internet business like this, you have to do it without the intention of making money in it. Otherwise, you'll never succeed.
Yes. I never thought that I would be able to make proper money from it. I remember, I think the first time that a brand emailed, and they were like, it was an app, and they were like, we would pay you £150 to put this app into a sketch. And there was 3 of us making this sketch. That was £50 each. And we were like, oh my God, this is amazing. And we're like, that's like a whole shift at work in a bar. And yeah, we were so excited to split this £150. And yeah, I didn't think that was going to be a long-term possible thing at all. I just thought that if my sketches went around the internet, maybe a casting director would see me and cast me in something, and I could crack on getting into Downton Abbey. And I never did get into Downton Abbey. I'm a bit sore about it, as you can tell. But yeah, absolutely. So now what the problem is because all the original YouTubers started it, or content creators, they started it because they were passionate about it, because they enjoyed making funny content kind of for themselves, or they enjoyed making videos about whatever it is, making cheese, whatever they want to do. And it wasn't with the intention to make money. So now people realize that it's a huge game-changing way of making money. And so people are going in with that intent. And also they're going in without the patience that so some of the original content creators were doing it for literally years before they ever became established in it. Yeah, it took me nearly, like I said, a year before I was getting any kind of money from it. So that was a year of just making sketches every single week. And you have to be, if you want to do this as a job, I think that as much as it's hard with the algorithm changes and everything, totally possible. I've seen creators come up this year, especially in the pandemic. People have had a lot more time to make content. So there's been like a whole influx of creators breaking through and breaking out. So it is possible. But again, I don't think those people were trying to do it because they were trying to make money. They were doing it because they were incredibly bored in a global pandemic. So,
I think the other thing with people making money off this that I've seen, particularly over this pandemic, is previously you'd have like your 1% of content creators at the very top, and they would literally earn a fortune and they'd earn everything. Whereas now I definitely can see that there's tiers of people at different levels earning different amounts of money going up, and it is, you can now climb, whereas I thought previously it was you either make it or you don't. There's like a yes no sort of thing.
Yeah, no, there's a whole spectrum. And I mean, let's talk money because I know that's everybody wants to know about money. But it's because it's so taboo to talk about money. And like, so for everything else in the world, every other job, there's kind of like a rough estimation of what you should be earning. So you go in with a ballpark of knowing whether you're getting mugged off or whether you've got a good wage for what you're doing. Whereas because this is such a new job and there's like an advertising streams and everything, I went in knowing absolutely nothing about how much I should get paid for something, to advertise something, what are followers and how much are they worth. That was a huge learning curve. I definitely got sacked off a lot of times with advertising companies or middleman companies. So what normally happens is a brand will want to advertise their product, but they won't, because of a lot of legal reasons, they won't directly contact the influencer or the content creator. Apparently it's because in case something went completely wrong and the content creator made something that was completely non-brand friendly but had tagged the brand, they need to have like a legal middleman in place, which is why they go through PR companies and managements, and there's like a legal way around doing this, and therefore the middleman can kind of barter the job and then also take a massive percentage that you might not be aware of. So for ages, I was taking what I thought was like the going rate, and then realized that, so the brand, for example, would maybe pay the PR company, they would have £80,000, let's just say, from Coca-Cola to put into online content creation. Then the management would then find 10 influencers to make sketches, and they would pay them each £2,000. They are taking so much of that bank.
Wow,
and the influencers,
that's how much those kind of middlemen charge, is it?
Oh my goodness. I talked to people from the inside of those companies and realized that they were taking markups like 80% of the brand's money they would take, and then they would use 20% of it to pay off the influencers, even though it was me that was making the content, filming the content, editing the content. It was sitting on my channel. You thought it would be the other way around. So with agents, I have management and I have like digital management, and they take 20% and you take 80. But they take 20% of the little bit that you get from the middleman. So it's a bit of cowboys. It's cowboys out there.
Yeah, there's a lot. That's mad. Is that still the case, do you know, at the moment, or?
I don't know. I think as it's become a little bit more clearer, like kind of the prices. So let's just throw out some prices of what. Well, let's talk about in the heyday when it was really like buzzing. Averagely, I have a million followers on my Facebook page, and I could make videos that would get around 2 million views, sometimes 10 million views.
Wow. Like
averagely. I could charge £4,000 for a branded video. So they would, about that. I think the most for like a single video I got was 7.
Wow.
Which was insane. I used to earn £7,000 a year. So that's kind of the crazy monies that you can be charging. Then obviously Facebook completely turned the algorithm upside down. Those 10 million views turned into 20,000 views, and therefore, like, brands, I could charge brands about £500 now for a video on Facebook.
Isn't it true that now they're looking at it in a different way as well? They're looking at your kind of engagement. It's not necessarily about views and likes anymore,
Yes.
is it? It's
It
about
used to be views
how
and likes.
engaged you are.
Yes, and then they did this thing called micro influencer, which you can still absolutely make money on. So I think a micro influencer is somebody who, I think it's about 5,000 followers or under 10,000 followers. There's a mark in the sand. At 10,000 followers, you can start to do the swipey uppy thing on Instagram. And Facebook stories, which really helps when you're selling to brands, because if brands want you to do a branded story, you can signpost them to go off that page and then go to wherever they want to go and buy cinema tickets or whatever it is. And so you can get that. If you get 10,000 followers, you're allowed to get that tool, and it really helps. But however, people can have, it's all on your engagement. If you have a really small following of 90% engagement, everybody who follows you is involved and they're just like your cheerleaders, and they'll support you and comment and share. Like, that's more powerful, and brands want that more than people who have huge pages, 10 million followers with a really dead engagement rate. Oh, also you get paid for differently depending on where the followers are in the world. So if you have female Australian followers aged around 30 years old, that is the top audience that you want in the world, because they are the people that buy the most stuff.
Really?
Yeah. And then if you get, so Australia, England and the UK are premium followers, and then you can charge premium advertising rates to those people. And then the rest of the world, and like India and the Philippines, is kind of the low rate audience premium levels. So you lose a lot of money if your audience is mainly over there.
Am I right in saying as well, it's also because this is such a new industry and it's growing and changing all the time, there's so many little niches and micro niches that if you explore one and you gain a large following, but not necessarily for that niche, but not necessarily a large following overall, that's worth a lot of money.
Yeah, it's all about niches now. And I'm looking at Facebook, and I'm looking everywhere, and like TikTok, people want to follow you because they want to see you do the same thing over and over and over. And I'm kind of lucky that I do comedy, because it gives me a little bit of a spectrum in which to do that in, which is why I think I can keep going like 5 years later. But you hit walls of just like you just dry up creatively, or just exhaustion, or like, whoa, this is a lot of the same to do the same thing. But if you can find a niche and do like true crime knitting patterns or something, like that would be that would be amazing. Find your little square in the market and take, put your peg in the floor.
That's it.
And so what's sort of like an average day for you, particularly during the COVID? I know obviously, how many videos do you produce a day? I don't know. You've got lots of platforms to cover, don't you?
Yeah. So the good thing is that Instagram stories and Instagram Reels and like TikTok, everything's gone vertical filming. So before, everything, they preferred it horizontal. And so you would film things on a sort of, they wanted everything in a square box, and it would have writing, like the memes with the writing at the top and the bottom, which meant that if you were going to purpose a piece of content to go across like all the platforms, you would have to like do an edit for each and every platform. And now they actually penalize you if you do square footage and put writing in it. They don't want that. So it used to be that they would push that video, and now they've turned it around and say, no, we don't want any writing on the video. We want the video as big as possible. So do it like a vertical footage, which means that you can do one piece of content, and I can post it on TikTok. I can do Instagram Reels. I can put it on Facebook. I can kind of put it across the board. apart from YouTube, which means it just means you can kind of put one sketch everywhere, and that's fine. So I'd recommend, if people are starting to make content, just make one really good thing and do it in vertical, and you can kind of put it anywhere. And yeah, it's hard, especially in the pandemic. It was so hard to make stuff. I used to make stuff like with other content creators like Sophie, and my other friends. We'd meet up regularly and put our heads together and make funny stuff. It's hard to film stuff on your own, and it's very boring as well, just being in a room on your own, and you've got no one to bounce off, and you're like, is this funny? I don't even know if this is funny or if I'm just hysterically upset. I don't know. So yeah, there was, sometimes you get hit with inspiration. So the pandemic was good in some ways because it was giving us funny things to joke about, because what's more relatable than us all being stuck inside globally forever? But then on another way, it was kind of crushing your creativity, because a lot of what I did, you get inspired by going out and doing things. Yeah. And when you can't go out and do things, I mean, we used part of the job, the fun bit of the job, was that I would get the privilege to be invited to a lot of PR events and premieres and screenings in London. So I'd be up in London about 4 times a week.
Oh, wow.
Getting to go to these events and things, which helps because it makes your vlogging and your stories interesting. So all of that just stopped, and it's like, how do you stay interesting in your slippers on the sofa
for
12 months? Yeah, it's hard.
And what would you say then has been the biggest positives and opportunities out of this content creating career?
Oh, well, what's interesting is, and I'm kind of annoyed that this is the positive of it, because before, obviously I'm exactly the same person that I was before I did stuff on the internet, but before, there is no way if I knocked on the door of the BBC that anybody would answer. Like, they just don't, I've got a scripter that you'd like me to read. But now doors can open because I have a little bit of collateral, and I can say, hi, like, I make content and it's got this many views and I want to make better and longer form content. So I've had some meetings with production companies and BBC and other people and places, and doors have opened because of like my 5 years catalogue of work that's now online. So on the one hand, I'm like so grateful because it's worked, but I'm also a little bit annoyed that I am very aware that that's why the production company are talking to me, because they want to get in on a bit of those 350 million views. And there's part of me that's like, you wouldn't be talking to me otherwise, would you?
Do you think you'd be like as successful if you started now doing what you did, or do you think there'd be it's a lot harder?
No, I think that a lot of it was
sweet spot
luck.
In that time.
I think a lot of it was luck and time. Like, if I did a lot of my content now, it part of it is grind. And like I said, we were throwing everything at the wall, making all kinds of sketches. Some of them banged, some of them didn't. I think it was kind of that weird thing where, what's meant for you won't pass you type stuff. It does get a bit weird because I'm like, whoa, if I hadn't done that one sketch, then that wouldn't have opened up that opportunity and I wouldn't have met that person. And yeah, it's hard, but that, like I said, I'm seeing people rise up from everywhere. So, but I just think for me, I had to be in the right place at the right time in 2016 and be there in that time.
I can't remember who we were chatting to at the beginning of the week, but we were talking about the importance of networking and how people, any career you want to go into now, the internet is a kind of place where you can create extra content. It doesn't matter what it is or what it relates to, but if you're into science, make some sciencey videos, and that just opens up a network of like maybe meeting other people that are interested in that kind of field, and then going and meeting up with them, and then that might lead to something, and then that might lead to something, and that is such an amazing tool that we have available to ourselves now, isn't it?
I mean, I've met some of my real good closest friends through doing this. Especially, I was really encouraging at the beginning any girls that wanted to get involved and jump in. I was like, absolutely, like, this is how, that, you know, I helped Sophie make her Facebook page and sort of show her the ropes of what had been shown to me and pass on the torch, not just to other women but also to everybody. Like, I find it really annoying when people get a couple steps up the ladder and then do not throw back the rope. It's like it really miffs me off, because how else are you supposed to know what's happening or what's going on? Like, I feel like, well, I feel like an old wise woman now, but I see some of these very young influencers starting on TikTok, and I almost want to contact them and be like, hi, I would really have appreciated it if somebody had told me this and this when I started. Like, just want to tell you this advice, but I also find that is also really patronizing. But just stuff like how much you should be getting paid for things, what the good management places to go to that are legit, like, kind of just networking etiquette, I guess.
I think you got a podcast episode there.
Yes, maybe I should. I mean, I did think when the pandemic hit, I thought I could go into sort of maybe some online classes or maybe something, because maybe people who do genuinely want to get involved, but like, there's like, how do you start? Where do you start?
What would be some of the negatives that you've found of this industry?
The negatives, apart from the middleman stealing all of your advertising money, that's one. The negatives are, some people can be completely the opposite to my ethos and be completely two-faced. They can be incredibly jealous because you're in an arena where you're watching everybody kind of compete, even though really you're only in competition with yourself. Really. And there is enough space on the internet for many, many, many people, but people, and even I am a bit guilty of seeing somebody's video completely bang and going, oh, I wish I'd thought of that. That was genius. Damn it. Like, I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't think of that. When really there's enough space for like everybody. But so the downside is, sort of encountering some people who are a bit backstabby, a bit unwilling to help you, or even literally like chat about you behind your back to other people, kind of thing. But that can happen kind of in any industry, I guess. I get that. That's just like an office thing, right?
Yeah. God, that's an office thing. Yeah,
that's an office thing. The negative thing is like your job security isn't secure, like, at all. There isn't a union. If Facebook just decide to pull the plug and not allow you to have any views anymore, like, you can't do anything about it. So you just have to keep kind of adapting, and it is a bit scary. So if you're somebody who doesn't enjoy being self-employed, who doesn't enjoy, like, for example, right now it's January, absolutely dead, no work on, but you can't, like, so it's kind of scary. So they're like the negative sides of the industry, I think, is that kind of the fickleness of the platforms, and that like squeaky bum moment of, am I going to get another job?
So this is a bit of a hard question, because I usually ask what's not in the job description, but you obviously never had a job description. So what would be something that you never expected to happen having got into this?
Oh, what's not in the job description? The trolls. I mean, I know that probably was, but like, the backlash, I guess, of putting yourself on a platform. It's like being an actor or anything. Well, back in the day, though, actors could be super, super famous, but their private life and their home life was also top secret. Like, you didn't really know what was going on outside of the Oscars. Whereas online stuff is different, because you're a bit more vulnerable, and you vlog and you show a lot more close to home. I'm still private and I keep a lot of stuff private, but it's just, I feel like I had a relationship while I was starting, with another content creator, and we were together about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And when that ended, I then had to do like a public breakup. And even today, whenever I do anything, any sketches involving other male comedians, there will be like a core group of fans that will just keep tagging my ex in things, or keep asking me where the ex is, and it's a bit like, dude, it's been longer now since I ever went out with him.
I find these people it's so weird. Is it not really weird?
It
Like,
is
what
so
are you
weird,
doing?
and I'm
Sitting
like,
at home
also
doing that.
you saw a side of our relationship that we wanted to portray. Like, we definitely played, we were in a real relationship, but we
Yeah.
also
You're working together.
Yeah, it was a working relationship, and we definitely acted up to the camera. We played certain roles and to keep jokes rolling on. But like, people didn't see when the cameras were turned off, and they didn't see the reality of it, and they didn't see like that was a really toxic, not a good relationship, and I'm so much better out of it. So it is a bit weird that I still have people like believing in that and being like, why I miss you and him, and why aren't you still together? And it's like, that's weird. I can totally understand when people in sort of high profile relationships, when they split up and everyone's like, no, Brad and Angelina. And it's just like, no, you don't know how horrible it can be. You just don't know.
What's your advice for dealing with trouble?
I think that it's weird because 99 times out of 100, if you get a troll in your inbox or in your comments saying like, you're so rubbish and you're fat and you're ugly, and then if you go, oh hi, they go, oh my god, you actually replied, I love you, I was joking, and they just fangirl all over you. So, and then you do have actual trolls who aren't just trying to kind of fish for a compliment. I've had I don't mind people being horrible about me, because I'm like, cool, whatever, live your life, like, you need a hug. But I find it hard when people attack friends or my partners, because so the boyfriend that was the high profile boyfriend, he was Arab, and that was the first time that I experienced like racial trolling, and that was hard. I was like, whoa, like, people would send all kinds of disgusting things in the DMs, and like voice notes as well, like,
oh my god,
all kinds of awful, racist, horrible things. And then since that relationship, in my current relationship, my mum is over the moon, but my partner now is Jamaican Grenadian, so she was very happy with that. But but in putting, I don't put so much of my relationship online, but when he does jump in a video or a post or something, and we get like racist comments or messages, it's really hard because I get so protective, and I know I need to like just pass it off like it was anything. But yeah, it gets personal. So yeah, the trolling is the not nice part. But to be fair, like, majority of people are lovely, and for every horrible person, you've got so many people making connections. And I've got some people who have been following me for literally the 5 years, and they message every now and again, and I remember their names, and that's just lovely.
It's quite cool, isn't it? That's nice. Yeah,
that's lovely. Thank you, Simon.
So
43120.
Have you got any tips or any advice for anyone? Maybe 2 tips for really progressing in the world of content creation.
Number 1 is just do it. Like, stop faffing about it, stop thinking about it, stop overthinking about it. It's not going to be perfect, and like, the only way that you're going to make stuff, I wish that I'd started earlier, because if I'd started earlier, or if I'd continued doing the YouTube stuff, if I'd stayed at it, I would be in a very different place. So yeah, my number 1 tip is just do it, because yeah, like, even if it doesn't come out the way you want or whatever, at least you had a whack at it. You can sit there forever just planning, and it's never going to be done. So if you really want to make videos on crocheting teapot holders, like, just do it. Just go and do it. And the second one is really about that thing about the money. If you're going in, and if you're like, by the 3rd video, you're like, oh, I've got 4 views and nobody, like, just go at it as if nobody is watching but you. And if I ever feel like on my Instagram or something, like, oh, what should I post, and I'm like, just imagine that, like, it's a private Instagram and there's nobody else watching. What would I want to put on there? Like, at the end of the day, it's your content, it's your platform, and don't think too much about who's watching, or about the money or any of the technical. It kills the art, it kills the creativity.
And would you still go into the industry knowing everything you know now?
Oh, yes, I would. I do love my job. Like, it's there has been some insane highs. Like, me and Sophie have been sent to Budapest and Miami, and I've particularly with the presentery type stuff, I've got to meet and got access to so many amazing people and celebrities, and I've got to have some crazy experiences. Like, I met Hugh Jackman and he gave me a hug. I met
So
The
cool.
Rock, Dwayne Johnson. He said he liked my tattoos, and just like unbelievable pinch me moments.
Sophie told us about your incident with Will Smith as well.
Oh, we met Will Smith in Budapest. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Willard. I said, "Can I call you Willard?" And he said that was his government name, of course. So I was like, "Oh, great, thank you." Yeah, and I get to make hilarious videos with my best friend. So it's like there are so many perks to it. I would definitely do it again. I just wish that I could do it again with me now as like an older godmother and just help myself through it a little bit.
And a final question from me: when are we going to see you in Downton Abbey?
One can hope. I don't know. I don't know.
One day.
Probably never.
No. Listen, thank you so much for coming on, Johanna. It's been a real pleasure to chat with you, and I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. It's been great. A perk to the day, the monotonous, ever non-ending Groundhog Day that is life right now. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. And where can people find you across all the platforms?
Everywhere is the same name. Johanna James, J.A. Hannah James. In fact, a fun fact, if you Google me, Johanna James, the next thing that comes up is Johanna James feet. That's the most Googled thing. Apparently, there are a lot of weirdos out there that like feet, and they have they've made like Tumblr accounts of my toes and things.
Oh my
Very
God.
weird.
There's a lot of money in that, apparently.
Well, I'm not getting any. I did think briefly about making an OnlyFans for my toes, but I didn't pursue it.
There's
Well, thank you so
there's
much.
always time. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.